Episode 1. The Princess of Prayers. The moon floated above the golden roofs of the Yang Dynasty, its light spilling like silk over the palace gardens. For years, the kingdom had prayed for an heir, lighting lanterns on rivers, offering incense to the heavens, and whispering their hopes into the wind. At last, on this sacred night, their prayers were answered. Inside the Jade Pavilion, Queen Mei Lian's cry of pain turned into a cry of life. A baby's soft wail filled the chamber. King Jian Yu, young and noble, took the tiny child into his arms. Her eyes gleamed like molten amber, calm yet fierce, as if she already understood the weight of the world. The royal priest bowed deeply and whispered, "This child carries the fire of the dragon, a heart of courage and a will that shall never break. She is heaven's answer to our kingdom's prayer." The queen wept tears of joy. She shall be named Princess Xian Ruo, the one whose heart knows no fear. From mountains to valleys, the bells rang. The people danced beneath lanterns, rejoicing, the heir is born. But in the temple high above the clouds, the ancient oracle of Yang lit a candle and murmured a warning carried by the wind. When darkness rises and dragons awaken, her courage will decide the fate of the Yang throne. As the baby princess slept peacefully, a faint shimmer glowed upon her tiny palm, a birthmark shaped like a dragon's flame. None knew that this child, born of prayer and blessed with fire, would one day become the bravest ruler the dynasty had ever known. And so began the legend of the heart of the dragon princess, born not only to reign, but to fight destiny itself. Soon the grand doors opened, and the Empress Dowager, the king's mother, entered. She was a vision of timeless grace, her silver hair pinned with a golden phoenix, her eyes deep with wisdom and love. The courtiers bowed low as she approached the cradle. For a moment, the hall fell silent. "So small," she whispered, "and yet I can feel the strength of her spirit. She carries the fire of our ancestors." The Empress Dowager placed a golden amulet around the baby's neck, a dragon carved from jade. Thunder rumbled gently across the skies, as if the heavens themselves approved. Across the Yang Dynasty, drums thundered and fireworks bloomed like peonies in the night sky. Villages lit 1,000 golden lamps, letting them drift along the river, each one carrying a wish for the princess's long life. In the royal palace, silk banners fluttered in the breeze, and servants hurried through marble corridors carrying trays of jeweled sweets and fragrant tea. Drums thundered and fireworks bloomed like peonies in the night sky. Episode 2. The Stolen Heir. The dawn after celebration came soft and golden. The Yang Palace still glimmered with the remnants of last night's joy, lanterns swaying gently in the morning breeze, music fading in the distance. Queen Mei Lian cradled her daughter, humming a lullaby beneath the cherry blossoms. The air was warm, peaceful, yet beyond the palace walls, shadows had begun to move. Far across the mist-covered mountains, an old enemy of the Yang bloodline stirred Lord Shen, the exiled warlord who once waged war against the dynasty. His heart, darkened by years of vengeance, had never forgotten his defeat by King Jian Yu. From the ashes of his fallen army, he rose again, scarred, bitter, and hungry for power. His spies whispered, "The Yangs now have an heir, a girl born under heaven's blessing." Shen's eyes gleamed like cold steel. "Then heaven shall watch me take what it blessed them with." That night, as rain whispered against the jade rooftops, a storm crept into the palace. The guards, weary from days of celebration, didn't notice the silent figures slipping through the shadows. Lightning flashed, and for an instant, a hooded woman stood by the princess's cradle. She was Lady Rui, once a royal maid, now loyal to Lord Shen. Her face was torn between regret and duty. The baby princess stirred, her tiny hand clutching the golden dragon amulet, glowing faintly. The soft light startled Lady Rui, but she whispered, "Forgive me, little one. This is not my will, but fate." Lifted the princess, wrapped in silken blankets, and vanished into the storm. When the queen awoke, her heart froze. The cradle was empty. The palace erupted in chaos. Bells rang, soldiers stormed through corridors, and the king's voice echoed like thunder. Find her, search every corner of the kingdom. The Empress Dowager fell to her knees, clutching the dragon amulet that had been dropped near the window, cracked and dim. Tears streaked her wrinkled cheeks as she whispered, "The heavens would not take her, she still lives. Her heart is too strong to fade." Far away, through forests and rain, the stolen princess cried softly in the arms of her captor, her tears glowing faintly, forming a warm light that cut through the darkness. Even as a child, her heart of courage began to shine, a flame the shadows could never extinguish. So began the dark chapter of the stolen heir. The night the Yang Dynasty lost its light, but fate began to shape a warrior. Episode 3: The Queen's Resolve. The palace of Yang, once filled with laughter and songs, had fallen into a sorrowful silence. Days had turned to weeks since the princess was stolen. Every night, the queen stood at the window of the jade pavilion, watching the lanterns float down the river. One for each prayer, she whispered into the dark. But Queen Mei Lian was no fragile soul. She was born with grace and raised with wisdom. On the 13th morning, she rose from her grief and stood tall before the royal council. Her eyes, once soft with sorrow, now blazed with purpose. "No man could enter the inner courtyard where my daughter slept," she declared. "Only the royal maids walked those halls. The serpent hides among flowers, and I intend to find which one it was." Voice echoed through the palace. From that moment, the queen herself took charge of the investigation. Servants were questioned one by one. Every maid's loyalty was tested. The scent of fear lingered in the air like fatting incense. Through fragments of whispers and broken truths, Queen Mei Lian's sharp mind pieced the clues together: strands of torn silk, unfamiliar footprints, a missing hairpin. And then it struck her. Lady Rui, the maid who once attended her chamber, vanished the same night as the princess. A storm raged in the queen's heart. "Find her," she commanded, "and bring her before the throne alive." Episode 3 continue. Far from the palace, beyond the mountains and rivers, in a peaceful little village surrounded by emerald forests, the stolen princess lived a quiet life under another name, Mei Lian. A humble farmer and his gentle wife had found her wrapped in silk beneath a weeping willow. With no child of their own, they raised her as a gift from the heavens. Years passed, and the once royal infant grew into a radiant young girl, strong, curious, and kind-hearted. Rose at dawn to help her adoptive parents, collecting herbs, tending to the fields, and cooking warm meals for the village elders. Old women often smiled and said, "This girl has the heart of a guardian. Even the wind follows her lead." Though her hands were small, Mei Lin's spirit was fierce. When travelers passed through with bows and swords, she watched closely, memorizing every move. With time, she learned to shoot arrows straight into the heart of a tree trunk and to swing a wooden sword with precision. Her father built her a small training post near the forest edge, and every evening, she practiced beneath the rustling bamboo, her laughter blending with the whispers of the wind. Often spent hours deep in the jungle, climbing trees, crossing streams, and helping lost children find their way home. When wild animals appeared, she never ran. Instead, she stood still, calm, her pure heart taming even the fiercest of creatures. Villagers began to call her the brave blossom, the girl who never feared the dark. Though she did not know it, the courage within her was not learned. It was born in her blood. The same courage that once protected the Yang Dynasty was now blooming quietly in the forest. And under the same moon that once witnessed her birth, destiny watched patiently, waiting for the day the lost princess would reclaim her true name. Episode 4: The Shadow of Betrayal. Many years had passed since the night the royal heir was stolen. The once young Queen Mei Lian now carried quiet wisdom in her eyes, the kind only sorrow can teach. Her heart had healed just enough to keep ruling, yet her soul still ached for the daughter she never found. But time, as it often does, began to uncover what darkness once tried to hide. Strange illnesses had begun to spread among the palace's young heirs, the sons and daughters of the royal concubines. their health weakened by unseen hands, their dreams disturbed by whispers of shadows. Physicians failed to cure them, and priests spoke of black magic polluting the royal air. One evening, as storm clouds gathered over the palace, Queen Mei Lian stood before the altar of the ancestors. The flames of incense trembled, and her mind returned to one name, Lady Rui. "The night my child vanished," she murmured, "so did she. Fate does not hide forever." The queen reopened her secret investigation, quietly, carefully, with the patience of a hunter waiting in silence. Spies moved through the palace, gathering whispers, collecting fragments of truth. And at last, a trembling maid, pale with guilt, broke under the queen's gaze. Falling to her knees, she cried, "Your Majesty, I was there. Lady Rui used dark spells from the Forbidden Mountains. She cursed the royal bloodline. She said only she deserved to be queen and that her child should be the heir." The hall fell silent. The Empress Dowager gripped her chair, her old eyes blazing with fury. King Jianyu's fists clenched, his voice cold as steel. "Tell us everything." Tears streamed down the maid's face. "It was Lord Shen, your old enemy. He returned from exile and conspired with her. He promised Lady Rui power, promised she would be the mother of the next ruler if she helped him destroy the royal line. Together, they stole the princess." Gasps echoed through the throne hall. Guards surrounded the trembling servants as the truth finally emerged like a ghost from the past. Queen Mei Lian's voice was calm, yet her eyes glowed with unyielding fire. "So the serpent hid not in shadows, but beneath my own roof." The captured maids revealed how Lady Rui practiced forbidden sorcery, draining the health of royal children to keep herself young, using spells that bound their life force to her ambition. But when the queen demanded to know where her daughter was, silence fell once more. The maid whispered in terror, "No one knows, your Majesty. Lord Shen vanished with the princess, like air swallowed by the night. Even Lady Rui has lost his trail." A deep stillness filled the palace. Thunder rolled across the mountains. Queen Mei Lian turned to the Empress Dowager and the king, her voice steady yet filled with sorrow. "Then I will not rest until I find her. Even if it takes my final breath, I will see my daughter return to her throne." The Empress Dowager nodded slowly, her voice trembling with pride. "Your courage keeps the dynasty alive, my child." As the candles flickered in the throne hall, the storm outside raged. The royal drums echoed through the palace. Guards marched into the grand hall as King Jianyu and Queen Mei Lian stood side by side, their eyes sharp as blades. "King Jianyu, bring her in." Lady Rui was dragged before them, her silk robes torn, wrists bound tightly in rope. Her once proud face trembled under the cold glare of the queen. "Queen Mei Lian, you deceived the crown, cursed the children, and stole my daughter. Speak, or face the god's wrath." Lady Rui's voice cracked as she fell to her knees. I did it for power. Lord Shen promised me the throne. I used black magic to weaken the royal heirs. I buried the curse doll beneath the old plum tree in the east courtyard." The queen's eyes burned with silent fury. Guards searched the courtyard. Moments later, soldiers returned, holding a filthy, twisted doll wrapped in black thread, symbols of forbidden sorcery carved into its cloth. The hall filled with gasps. The king raised his hand. "Lady Rui, for your sins against the royal blood, you will face the punishment of the heavens." Lady Rui tightly roped as she was dragged away, her cries echoing through the marble halls, a chilling reminder that betrayal never remains buried forever.